Okay, this is computer-generated chess problem 00617 by Chesthetica. This is a study-like construct that literally came from the mind of a computer program composed by Chesthetica. Interestingly, in this position you can see that white has got 3 rooks, which means at some point earlier in the game white promoted to a rook, which can happen sometimes as it can be necessary or if deemed sufficient by white. But in this position white is actually down by about 1 pawn unit. And as you can see, the black knight on b3 threatens to capture the rook on a5 and the rook on d2, so it's forking both these rooks. Yet the same knight can be captured by the pawn on c2. So the obvious move, or quote-unquote obvious move, would be pawn captures b3. Interestingly, that only leads to a draw. But I will now show you the analysis of how white can win here. So the winning move is rook to g2. Now if the king tries to escape, for example king to h8, then white wins with king to f2. Both the rooks are guarding the f and g files. Queen, which is in a bad position, tries to come out to b7. Rook captures b5. Queen to g7, the queen must be sacrificed. Rook captures b8, check. King to h7. And you can see black is in a lot of trouble and cannot avoid mate. Rook to h5, check. Queen to h6. Rook captures h6, check. King captures h6. And rook to h8, checkmate. In order for black to last longer, he brings out the queen immediately. Queen to b7. But it's still not enough because white can win in a number of ways, but the most promising would be king to h4, creating the discovered check. King must move to h8. Then we have rook to h5 check. The queen must intervene to h7. And of course, the rook will capture the queen, winning material. King captures rook. And after rook captures a7, you can see that black's position is quite bad and it's only a matter of time before he is checkmated. So going back to the original or initial position, it's important to notice the opportunities on the board and not just to deal with immediate threats like a knight forking both rooks. So in this position, rook moves to g2, threatening a discovered check and cornering the king to the h file is the right strategy. Black, despite being slightly ahead in material, has actually quite a bad position, in particular the queen being on a8. Another variation would be, for example, rook to g2, queen to c6, rook captures a7, check, king to h6, king to h4, securing the g file, queen to g6, because if the queen does not move to g6, for example if queen to e4, then d captures e4 and checkmate cannot be avoided with rook to h5. This is why after king to h4, black plays queen to g6, sacrificing the queen. White of course captures it, king captures g6, and white is well on his way to winning. After pawn captures b3, there's not much that black can do. Maybe b4, king to g3, knight to c6, here rook to a6, pinning the knight, king to g7, king to f4. Notice how the bishop on d1 is also badly placed. Knight to d4, rook to d5, and it's only a matter of time before black is checkmated as well. The pawn on h3 is also well on its way, being a passed pawn to being promoted. So taking a look at this position again, it's quite an interesting study. There's one move that clearly wins, another move that clearly draws, and the alternatives actually lose. For example, if rook on the d file to, let's say, f2, trying to double the rooks, well, then black will play knight to c6. White tries to save the other rook, rook to a6. Then we have knight on the b file to a5, trapping the rook. Then maybe rook on the second rank to f4. Then after queen to d8, white might try rook to f7 check, king to g8, rook 7 f6, and this is where black secures the win by promoting to a queen. Maybe you didn't notice the pawn on a2, but white could just as well lose the game by making the wrong move from this position. And what if, for example, earlier, rook to g2, if black had promoted, let's say, to a queen? Well, then there would be a mate in two moves with king to h4 check, king to h8, and rook to h5 mate. So rook to g2 is the only correct move in this position. Thanks for watching.